Rip City Mornings.
Let's bring in our good friend from the I-5 corridor. He joins us each and every Wednesday. Lots to discuss with regard to college football, even though we are right in the heart of the offseason. Tyson Alger back on the big show. Good morning, Tyson. How are you?
Morning, Justin. I'm having a great start to my Wednesday. How are you?
I'm having a fantastic start to my Wednesday as well. Anytime I get to chat with you is a fantastic day. Also, I don't know, you probably don't know this, but like the fact that you answered your phone when we called, we had a little bit of a mishap yesterday. So I'm just happy that you showed up.
Dude, I think I deserve one of those posters where it's like it's been X amount of days since Tyson hasn't picked up the phone for the radio. It's like we're on a pretty good streak here.
We really are.
I don't think I've no called, no showed, and I might have made it the whole football season.
I think you did. Like, safety is no accident, Tyson. All right, so speaking of football season, not next year, but 2024 seems to be like that's the day after tomorrow, right? With regard to college football, we are going to see USC and UCLA out of the conference. Texas and Oklahoma are leaving to the SEC. College football playoff expanding to 12. It's just all going to happen in 2024, which is crazy because it is on the cusp of being in our lives. And then now we are potentially maybe watching Oregon football or Oregon State football on Apple TV Plus. Is this really what's going to happen? Is this what's going to be in our lives?
It's kind of wild to think about it. I mean, I know when they were kind of beginning these talks, like that was kind of always thrown like kind of like the also ran of like, or, they might explore streaming services. And, obviously Amazon has kind of become a little bit more known for its football. But yeah, it would be, I don't know if this is just posturing. Like it does seem like a lot of this is being played out in public right now. Like I wouldn't expect this, to wake up tomorrow and just see the Pac-12 with an exclusive Apple TV deal. But it would be fascinating just to think of that. Just the whole concept of having to take something to a completely different app. You're not going to be able to like switch between games during commercials. I just hope that if they do strike this deal, you know how in like every Apple TV show, like everyone has the latest and greatest iPhone and it's product placement everywhere. Like
yes.
As someone who's occasionally in a TV shot, like in the scrums, like I feel like they should take care of everyone just to make sure that the product is out there. So yeah, like I'm down for it if I get a new iPhone.
What iPhone are we up to now? Are we up to 14? Is that the last one? So then everybody should get the 15, right? That just like every coach's scrum, like you mentioned, with you all have your phones out trying to get the quotes, and everybody's just got the 15. Even though I don't even know if it's being developed yet.
I remember when like Matt Preem started rocking like one of like the bigger like Samsung Notes back in the day, and like everyone was like, oh, like around the scrum, that's like if somebody shows up with a new card, it's if you have a new recording device. So yeah, always out for the latest and greatest, and you can see that technology used at i5corridor.com.
By the way, not surprised, Matt Preem, green bubble guy. Just saying.
I know. What do
the kids say? Like, if you know, the IKY, like green bubble guy. Just,
yeah. Got
to be that guy. All right. So, here's the other interesting part. You mentioned it, though. To me, that's where this gets fascinating. Because I am, as a TV show viewer, right, I am watching less and less TV shows on cable. Still pay for the whole cable thing because I'm a middle-aged guy, Tyson, and you can have my remote when you steal it from my cold, dead hand. But I am, as a TV viewer, watching more and more streaming. But that is an appointment TV. You sit down. We're going to watch 1923 right now. Whereas like college football, it is, because not all the games like in the NFL that start at the same time, it is very channel flippy convenient. You know what I'm saying? Where you're just like, oh, hey, TCU and Kansas State are heading to the fourth quarter and they're tied. Let's check that out. And I think you would lose a big potential audience not being able to be kind of on that remote control flip around deal for a college football Saturday.
You mean to say like people aren't going to get lost in like an episode of what is it? Not the newsroom, but the Jennifer Aniston,
the morning
Steve Carell show. People aren't going to get lost into an episode of the morning show in between breaks and realize that they didn't have it on the game anymore. I don't know, and like I'm envisioning like, you know, I think that might be a struggle at bars too. You know, I think we might have talked about this last week, but every bar around has DirecTV. Like I can't imagine, you know, like you're going into like some random place where they can't even find ESPN still to this day, and instructing them to download Apple TV onto their Roku and like, you know, putting in the password and yeah.
Well, I mean, I know we kind of joke around about it, but it is one of the things, and I think I talked about this when I was working up in Seattle. I talked about this with Brock Heward, name drop right there. One of the solid backup quarterback, Fox Sports analyst. But he mentioned it, and it's like, you outside of the West Coast, where especially here in Portland and in Oregon, everybody's got to have some sort of cable outlet because that's how you get Pac-12 Network and that's how you get the Blazers on TV. Whereas every other sports bar at every, you know, hotel bar, every airport bar across this big giant country of ours, they all have DirecTV. And so nobody is walking in and watching Pac-12 Network, even if there's like a pretty good game in the Pac-12. It's just not available. And now you take that and now you add it to a streaming service on the phone. And like, I know that bars were already struggling to try to get Thursday night football on. And like, do you get a password? I know YouTube TV is going to have Sunday Ticket. Maybe that kind of changes the mentality, but it is a significant thing. If you can't get like Washington and Utah in an absolute barn burner in like, you know, in the middle of the country, like in Decatur, Illinois, I don't even know if that is where a real place, but if you can't get that, like that's just, again, eyeballs lost on your conference, which has been a problem for the Pac-12 since this whole putting games on cable and satellite has become a thing.
It'll be interesting to see like how it affects the price too. Because you know, what is Apple TV? Probably like $7 or $8 a month.
I don't even know.
Like that.
They all just pop up out of nowhere.
Like I'm going to be completely honest. Like my television consumption these days is pretty much just like, for any sort of TV show, it's streaming. It's either on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and then it's just sports on the other things. Like if I could somehow like get my Pac-12 sports for like $8 a month and then not have to pay for the other stuff, like I don't know, like the NFL, the direct. The Sunday Ticket thing on YouTube TV makes a little bit more sense to me, just because like that's kind of a growing and established actual like TV network. It's not just like the utilized streaming service. You can still flip through there. But you know, the one positive though would be like if there is that one person in Florida who for the last 12 years has been like banging their pots and pans and saying that they just literally can't get Pac-12 games out in Florida. Like they can't watch this game. Like you could sign up for that service and actually get access to it. So you might lose some of like the casual like passerby or fans, but it might actually be more accessible to the people who actually want to watch it.
Tyson Alger of the I-5 Corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. One more thing on college football. I got on my high horse yesterday because I see this story. I think it came from Russ Detweiler from Sports Illustrated. He's going to be joining us tomorrow. Very excited to talk to him. I know. Back-to-back, just, you know, A-listers.
I'm glad I had to open and not follow.
No. You set a high bar, Tyson. But the talk, and it's come up, a handful of times before, that college football games are too long. Now, here's my question. Is this an actual problem or an actual concern of actual fans who will spend 3 hours tailgating, sometimes 4 hours tailgating before the game, who will then watch said game, spend X amount of hours after the game? Is college football game lengths an actual real problem, or is it maybe sports writers who want to get out of stadiums earlier on a Saturday because maybe they're not all that stoked to be there all day long?
You know, but like, screw those guys. Like, it's a privilege for us to be in that press box, to be able to work for a full afternoon and get our free food and like a really nice seat to the game. Okay, from the sports writer perspective, I've luckily been in a position where I haven't really had to meet deadline in the last few years. But like, I swear, like, back my first year on the beat, like 2014, like it seemed like things had gone like haywire if there was a game that wasn't finishing up by like 10:15 or like 10:30. And now it feels like games like routinely, like, especially if it's that 7:30 kick, it feels like games like routinely stretch into like the 11 p.m. range. And that's like the only time that, like, I think it might really actually bother people. Because like during the midday, like if it's a noon kick and it's going to like 4 or 5 p.m., like, who cares? Like, you're day drinking anyways. Like that's just part of that. Like, that's part of your Saturday. Like, these games consume your Saturday regardless. I think it's just in those super late games where, especially if you're commuting from Portland and you're not getting back home until like 2 or 3 in the morning, I think that's a little bit long for my liking.
Well, I just think, like, because I've been lucky enough to be kind of in both. Like, you were there with me. I was one of the press box people, and boy, the free lunch, man, it is just a delight.
You were taller then, like it's just like it was kind of walking on clouds.
It's fantastic. But then also these last couple of years, because I'll be honest, COVID kind of broke me, and I was like, we almost lost sports. Never going to take sports for granted again. I want to be a fan. I go and I watch games in the stadium. I drink beers in the parking lot beforehand, and I just now being in both sides, I don't know if you were to ask a poll of coast to coast college football fans if game length is at all a concern or has ever been a concern. And I just wonder if the only people we're hearing about college football games being too long just happen to be from the people who are covering said games, which is where I think the majority of this problem that I don't think is even a real problem comes from. Not talking about you, but let's be honest, Tyson, and we won't name names, but we've all been up in that press box and heard the moans and the groans when, like, here comes a review in the fourth quarter. It's like, oh man, I want to get out of here. We've been there. We know these people.
And it's like, it's never a problem. Like, if it's a good game, like, I've probably been a groaner, like, in a preseason, like 72-0 win over Nicholls State, where they're, doing the replay in the fourth quarter to see if, like, the third string tight end was in bounds at the 40-yard line or not.
That's true.
But yeah, I think this is probably a little bit more of a generated problem than like, the similar one in baseball, where I actually do think baseball game, and I love baseball, we all know that, but baseball games can draw on forever with very little action in it, whereas football is usually filling its time pretty well.
Well, I also think there is a very big difference. Tyson Alger, the I-5 corridor, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. I think you're right. Baseball games, it has crushed the sport. The pace and the length of baseball games, I believe, has crushed the sport of baseball. And I think the biggest reason for that is they play baseball games on Tuesdays. It's a 7 o'clock first pitch on a Tuesday. And it's like, I got to get up and I got to go to work in the morning, where I think most college football fans already have given up that, look, no, today is football day. We'll worry about Sunday morning. Today is going to be football day. And I do think, though, there is a difference, and tell me if you think about this. The length of the game, you mentioned it. When it's a good game, nobody cares about how long the game is. But the pace of the game and the random, we're going to check for targeting on this by the kicker, and we're 3 touchdowns, like all of that, the random reviews. Like, I do think you can shore up the pace of the game. I just get very, very nervous when you start seeing college football trying to be more and more like the NFL, because I think that is a fool's errand.
Yeah, I agree. And again, kind of going back to the who cares about this, and sorry about the squeaking. That's my dog in the background.
Oh no, how is Milo? Is that the?
It's Milo. He hasn't been walked yet this morning, so he's turning into a bit of a terror. He's got this big slinky fox that we thought was buried in the backyard like a year ago, and he has risen. What I was getting to is, like, from the working side, like, it is nice to go from like a football game to like a college basketball game, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, like, this is brisk. Like, I can do something with, like, the rest of my evening. And I think that's really the only danger the long football games are for football fans on Saturday. It's like if you're in a partnership where someone likes having an active Saturday, and you're just having to say like, oh yeah, like we could do that after the game, or like maybe do this before the game. And it's like if the game goes 6 hours, there might be some tension building in the household.
Tyson Alger of the I-5 Corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio, and a very welcome surprise appearance by the dog Milo as well. Still getting him the squeaky toys, huh?
I have not bought a single one of them.
We had this discussion. This has nothing to do with sports or Pac-12 football or anything else. But I just want
my wheelhouse.
It right here. You worried about this AI thing? You freaked out about this AI thing? Are you Tyson Alger, by the way? Are you an AI created bot? Because the real Tyson Alger is maybe taking a couple of weeks off. Is I-5 Corridor like embracing the AI and having the bots write the articles? You freaked out about this at all?
I feel like we'd be way more productive on the corridor if we could do that. It's like I took a couple of days off last week, and it feels like the whole site's shutting down. Honestly, like it's something that is a little bit back of mind. Like I've toyed around with it a little bit just to see what it can do, and it's especially for it being in its infancy, it's scarily advanced. Like I was even toying around with it and write me an article that makes an argument for the best Oregon quarterbacks of all time, and it's pretty close. Like up until I get through like Justin Roper in there, I think for a lot of like kind of like the box score or like AP type of writing, like I'm like legitimately worried for like that type of stuff. But for this is me trying to save my own profession. But I think for like the observational stuff and the people who write and that sort of thing, like maybe I'll be okay. But like I can't, like, I don't know, we're all screwed, right? Like
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're all screwed. Back it up. The AI overlords are taking over, right? Just you're never gonna be like, you think you can fire off witty tweets? Wait until the AI starts firing off witty tweets. We're all screwed.
Well, now I feel like that me coming on the show for the last 3 years and you asking me all these random questions about like breakfast cereals and TV shows, like was this actually just feeding the system? And now like next year, 620 is gonna have a Tyson-like performer on the show?
No chance whatsoever. Absolutely not. Because I think, and again, maybe a little bit of ego here, but like AI may think they've got my routines pegged, but you know what? Then I just throw a little curveball, like you said, and I'll throw out like, what's like, we all know like Cap'n Crunch has to be the best breakfast cereal of all time, because what other cereal would you accept that level of pain for that level of flavor? Like
but the AI,
no other cereal would you ever put up with the pain in the roof of your mouth that we do for Cap'n Crunch. So obviously it is clearly the best.
Yeah, but at this point, this thing has been listening to thousands and thousands of hours of Justin Myers, and it knows that you like to be hurt and you like to be satisfied while you eat. So the combination of Cap'n Crunch with your breakfast, like, I mean, like it knew that like the first day.
Oh man, I know, you're right. We're screwed. We're done. It was a fun run. AI's taken over. All right. For the time being, I-5 Corridor is artificial intelligence free, but it is intelligence heavy because Tyson Alger is running the show there. You need to subscribe to the I-5 Corridor if you don't already. We've been telling you for years and years on this program. Also, follow him at Tyson Alger on Twitter and hear him each and every Wednesday on this program. Have a terrific rest of your week, Tyson. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thanks a lot, Justin.